The Mizuno Wave Rebellion Pro 3 Low had me feeling like this.
Wow, it's so... Oh my God. Oh, Christ.
Yeah, that good.
Up in love on this wave to explore. Watch it crash, breakers thrashing at the shore. And one more, watch it crash. The rebellion began in a place very low, and will crash upon your head. For you know, here we go, watch it crash.
Good morning, everybody. Today, we have the Mizuno Wave Rebellion Pro 3 Low. This is a shoe that's been available on the Japanese market for some time now. I have been eyeing it for the duration of its existence because, as you could see from the glamour shots and from here, it doesn't have the wacky, wild, insane geometry of the Wave Rebellion Pro 3, but it does still have a little bit of a more aggressive heel bevel coming up through here. And it is a racing shoe that is sighted at 40 millimeters of stack in the heel, 36 in the forefoot, and a claimed weight of 7.9 ounces. I don't know what that means, so we're going to weigh that real quick. Yeah, 215, 216 grams, and 217 grams. So that's pretty spot on. Reason I'm excited for this is the 4 mil drop. The price tag is $230. The ability to test an innovative Mizuno shoe is exciting as well. So I know I was hardly alone in the community of people that didn't really want to try the Wave Rebellion Pro 3 because of the incredibly insane looking geometry. This does still have a bit of, a bit of a heel bevel here. And so I did want to measure that. I mean, obviously this isn't going to be indicative of the stack height because there could be sidewalls. But yeah, that's it. 50, 48. 0.86, 47. Let's see. Yeah, 48 is right around where we're getting at the landing platform. But if you measure from the heel, that's down at 34 and a half, maybe like, it's hard to say with this because it tilts inwards, but 37. But then if you go up to the forefoot, 37. So it's really hard to say, like how deep. See if I could do this proprioceptively. This ends like almost right at the top here. So if we're looking like this, yeah, around 46.8. I'm using my finger as like a proprioceptive feedback to see where I think the foam ends. And I think that, I think it ends right around there. So that's more like 44. And then this foam up here comes right to the very top. So 44 down to 36. But again, this is really hard to measure the stack on such a shoe with the wacky geometry. Another interesting thing to note is the plate is carbon infused, not full carbon fiber. So it's a carbon infused nylon plate, which I thought at first would make it less rigid. But this is one of the most rigid racing shoes that I've ever held. Like it's just, there's no give to it at all. I really like the color of this outsole. It's a little disorienting. So if you're passing somebody and you're flashing up your heels at them and they see the forefoot all purple and orange, you might distract them and be able to pass them. So yeah, really looking forward to getting this on foot, and I will catch you all in a bit. One more thing before I go do my job for a little while. The heel padding looks really ample in there. It's a nice pillow. It wraps around the entire ankle. I like to see that. And the upper is very simple. The tongue is sort of like the tongue on the Rebel V4, or even I know a couple other New Balance shoes use this tongue. Can't remember offhand, but it's very similar to that. A little thicker than what you would find on the Metaspeeds. Just very barely thicker though. Also has this double tongue securing mechanism on the tongue itself, as well as a single one down here. I don't think that these ever really do all that much, to be completely honest, but one thing I'm seeing on here as well is the laces are not the serrated laces, which I think is a mild, I don't know, come on, put the serrated laces on the racing shoe. That's all we ask. As far as the style goes, this colorway looks better in person for sure than it did online. I think it's a lot of it. This is carrying the weight of the colorway. This is sick outsole. I've never been so excited about an outsole. Okay, that's it. That's all I have for the upper and introduction breakdown on this. I'm really excited to take this for a run, and I will catch you outside. All right, here we are lacing up the Mizuno Wave Rebellion Pro 3 Low. I'm really excited to get these on foot. I just discovered something about the tripod that I've been using to carry with me in film, and it is actually able to go flat more than I thought it was. I don't know, probably nobody knows what I'm talking about right now, but I do. And it was an issue that I had with the tripod initially that I just discovered how to use it better. All right. So it does have a little bit of this crinkling in the upper right here. I'm curious to see if that happens on the other foot as well. But yeah, stepping in, this is low volume for sure. The top of my toes right here are touching, not on the medial side as much. Also, it comes pretty, like, I don't know, that's about right, I guess, for a racing shoe fit. I tend to have a lot of room in the front of my feet because I have the smallest end of the spectrum for my feet are pretty much exactly a 9 in size, but because that could have so much variance in running shoes, I tend to get a 9.5. I mean, I almost always get a 9.5. So I tend to have more room in shoes, and I don't mind that. I'd rather have more room than not enough. Yeah, it's pretty weird. Look at this. I guess maybe because this foot is a slightly different size, but there's a lot less crinkling on this than this. A little uneven. I don't personally care about that. I know that's something that a few reviewers tend to note and seem to care a little bit about it, but I mean, it doesn't have any bearing on the performance for me that I've noticed, at least. Yeah, it's always interesting lacing up a shoe for the first time because you get to sort of play around with the fit and see what's working, what's not working, and really just get a feel for how the shoe is going to exist on your foot. All right. So far, this is seeming like a really easy to dial in type of fit. Reminds me of something, and I can't think of what it reminds me of right now. It'll come to me eventually. The CLO X1, that's what the upper reminds me of, but not in material. This is some sort of nice, like, engineered mesh with some different levels of, I guess, like, overlays or underlays. Like, certain components of it are looser, certain are tighter, but that's not what reminds me of the fit. But the way that the collar is holding my ankle, that's what seems like the CLO. Not like a lot, but It's reminiscent for sure. Okay, let's see. Oh yeah. Yeah, and it has the midfoot sort of bump to it. But yeah, look at this. This is a wildly different, like, that's really crinkled. And that's only a little crinkled. Whatever, it does not matter, probably. These feel a lot softer on foot than I thought. I'm also standing on carpet. Hold on. Yeah, these feel soft and bouncy, even just walking around. It feels like I have some sort of bouncing mechanism underneath me. I don't know if I'm even going to need to adjust these. Maybe this one a little tighter. Okay, let me keep getting ready and I'll see you in a sec. I have a few extra thoughts about the Mizuno Wave Rebellion Pro. Low. 3. Low. First extra thought is it smells like absolute gas. I don't know if some people like this smell, some people don't like this smell. I absolutely love this smell. I think it's like a weirdly addictive, I don't know, scent of... I don't know if it's the glue or the Piba. I've seen people say it's the glue, but I've only really experienced this smell on a couple of shoes, and they were all Piba, I believe. It's hard to remember, but the Tier Valkyrie Speedworks had it when it was brand new. Both of the iterations of the Metaspeed shoes, so the Edge, Tokyo, and Paris that I've owned, both had it. And I was trying to remember, there was one more. It's not coming to mind right now. So I don't know what it is. It's either the glue or the Piba, but it smells fantastic. I spent way too much time talking about that. The other thing is that underfoot, this feels really bouncy just walking around, and the fit feels so similar to the Hoka Cielo X1, and that is a good sign. So I'm gonna get after it right now.
I've been up a bunch of ways to explore. Watch it crash, like it's crashing at the shore. And one more, watch it crash. A rebellion began in a place very low, and we'll crash upon your head before you know. Here we go, watch it crash, crash.
The foam definitely feels like a Piba in the sense that it's really compressive and then it rebounds you with a lot of verve, but it also sort of has that non-Newtonian fluid aspect or attribute to it where it felt a lot softer in my house and on the pavement just standing still than it does on foot. And that's not a bad thing. I like a firmer feeling on foot. So far, I am loving this. Especially that it can get down to my warm-up paces if I'm striking on the midfoot. That's where the majority of the foam is, straight under the arch. But at faster paces, you're not hitting that as much, which is still fine, because there's ample foam in the forefoot. I'm honestly surprised that Mizuno didn't release this back when it originally was created, because this is competitive. Maybe not on weight, but so far on foot, like 214 grams, that is competitive on weight against like Adios Pro 4 and I don't know, Rocket X3. It's only like 5 grams heavier than the Rocket X3. Feels a little bit lighter than that because this is less, for me, this is less prescriptive of a ride. It's less built up, more minimal upper. Really like the upper on this. suiting me very well. And the midsole is great. The full rubber coverage is pretty nuts. Like, it's 214 grams. Or maybe, wait, it was 217, wasn't it? Whatever. For a shoe with full rubber coverage and such a high forefoot stack, as well as the, like, relative lack of cutouts. I mean, there's the one channel, but it's really small. Like, that's a feat of engineering as far as lightness goes. It's not as astounding as the Edge Tokyo for lightness, but, and you know, I'd have to put them on side by side to actually make a claim here, but my guess is that it'd be hard to tell the difference weight-wise on foot. Alright, I'm gonna blast for a little bit.
Started in no places, the rebellion will splash your face in. Water cold can erode, from high to low until a basin. So be careful, be a pro, ride this wave rebellion low.
So far, I've been setting up a lot of camera shots. So I've been dragging in terms of total pace, but these feel really fast on foot. I'm just happy to be out here, and I'm happy the weather is changing. It is so nice out right now, and oh yeah, got a UFO, hold on. It's actually a UFM, unidentified flying mylar. Some poor kid lost their balloon. I might actually shoot for 9 right now and break it into 9.7. This is gonna be a much longer run due to all of the stops that I've made. But it's all worth it. It's all worth it. I just absolutely... I absolutely just smashed a 3-mile progression. It was fast. I hit one of the miles at 6:20, which for me is not far off my mile PR. Like 25 seconds off my mile PR. I love these shoes. I was just like so locked in the zone. I was going over somewhat uneven paved trail. The trails out here are paved, but they're filled with cracks and like often loose dirt or sand gets on the trail and it can be slippery. That is actually one thing to recap this video with, so I don't forget back in the studio. The grip on wet is not 100%. You would think with the full coverage, full rubber coverage, it would be a little bit grippier than it is, but it's not like I'm slipping. For sure not slipping, but I just don't feel 100% confident on wet road in these. It's also I'm going from a lot of dry into wet right now because the rain is drying currently. Here I am, second run of the day in the Mizuno Wave Rebellion Pro low. I wasn't actually gonna do both of my runs in this today. That wasn't the original plan, but I had such a good run earlier. in these that I had to take it out a second time. But I'm definitely feeling the consequences of throwing in those fast miles. My legs are not 100% right now. Another thing I'm trying is the cushioned heel tab socks currently, because I was having a little issue with heel slip on the first run. Not during the fast miles and not once I got it locked down, but initially I was. And so far, there's none of that with these socks. And it wasn't really an issue on the first run. I just wanted to see, like, I don't know, for me, some shoes only work with some socks, or at least they perform better with certain socks. And that's why I swapped. Long-winded way of saying, it's run 2, my brain is mush. It's also warming back up. I wonder if that trend will persist through the week. These are really great shoes. They're sort of bouncing along. One thing I am observing that's consistent with this morning is that I'm having a little bit of hot spots on my right ball of foot and along the big toe. And it's really weird because it was intermittent on my first run and I'm currently experiencing it on this one. And I don't know what the variable is that's creating this like sensation and the intermittent nature of the sensation, but it almost feels less like a hot spot and more like plate feel, which is frustrating because otherwise these are phenomenal. See if I could do a really quick re-tie up at the bench over there to see if maybe I'm just like squeezing myself inward, like squeezing the big toe central to the shoe, and it's creating like a pivot point on the bottom of my foot that creates rubbing. I don't know. That's crazy. I think that did it. No more hotspot. So, what did I just discover? I feel like I might have just discovered something pretty important about how my feet respond to certain shoes. Tying this in the forefoot super tightly led to hot spots on the ball of my foot. It's a little too loose now, but it's not creating pain. So what is it about having a tightly tied forefoot specifically, because that's the only part I really loosened, that's creating additional friction under my foot? It's just definitely not plate feel, because unless like the scrunching of the foam can create like more pressure on the plate, like on your foot on the plate. I don't know, man. It's weird science. It's something that I've clearly not perfected. No first run review would be perfectly complete without running on the track for a little bit. and seeing some lazy, I missed him. Yeah, these feel even bouncier on the track, who would have thought? Man, it got a lot warmer in the afternoon. School is back in session, college-wise, and that means I'm not going to have as much regular access to the track as I usually would, so I got to cherish these moments. These shoes are like a wind-up doll. It takes a minute to get them cranked, but once they're cranked, they just turn over and over and over and over. Just second run of the day, feel better than the first almost. The only thing that's really stopping me from immediately and decisively choosing this shoe for my upcoming race is that it is not as stable as the Edge Tokyo, and with as many turns on that course as there are, I don't know, it could be a concern. It's not like unstable for sure, but it's not stable either. It's like similar level of lateral squidginess as the Evo SL. So it's manageable, but I find the Edge Tokyo to be a more stable platform, especially in the corners. But this is a budding friendship, so I wouldn't count any chickens before they hatch. These honestly feel like the biggest cheat code shoe that I've ever run in. It like grabs you, blocks you in the pace, and then turns your legs over for you. I've been running on autopilot for miles, and I'm not even like gassed, and I should be. I'm at like 7:55 pace. I should be breathing a lot harder than this. Honk! Pigeons! Yeah, I'm 4 years old. I was trying to point these out the other day. These nests of, I believe, silkworm. It's still even hard to see it right up against it. How intense they look. Very cool. When I started today in the Wave Rebellion Pro 3 Low, I did not expect to run a double day in it. I was going to run a double day, but I didn't expect to run it in one shoe. And the reason I decided to double up in this is that I had so much fun on the first run that I couldn't resist putting it through its paces. So before we get carried away and waxing philosophical and amorously about this low Wave Rebellion Pro, let's just go over some of the details. The upper is mesh. It has some underlays that you could probably actually see right here. It's like a strap. And then this side as well has some of these underlays, and it creates a structured sort of feel on your foot, and it's like it holds its shape really well. And that is something that not a lot of super shoes, marathon racing shoes have in abundance. The one that came to mind, I compared it to immediately out of the box when I first stepped into this and laced it up. The first thing that I noticed is that it felt very familiar. And upon searching my memory, it was the Hoka Cielo X1 that this upper reminds me of. Now, that wasn't everybody's favorite upper, but it's not so much the material that this reminds me of. It's the structured sort of built up, like holds its own shape, as well as the feeling of the heel counter, the ankle collar, that the way that it locked my ankle in, and the bevel at the back of the heel cup. Those were some of the things that were reminiscent of the Hoka Cielo X1. Otherwise, not a lot in common with that shoe, I wouldn't say, other than, being a fully stacked PIBA, racing shoe. But the upper felt a bit low volume for sure. If you have higher volume feet, this is going to be on the snug side, but not, full 10 out of 10 on the dialed spectrum. It's like maybe an 8 out of 10 on flush with foot feel. So I really enjoyed the way the upper felt on my foot. Things that I think could be improved upon. The tongue is it's just shy of being short. There's this little notch here, which I'm not really sure why that notch exists on the tongue. I think it might be something to do with to prevent bunching. So if this was a fully flat across tongue, maybe people in testing found that there was bunching. I don't know. I'm completely speculating here because the Metaspeed Edge Paris and Tokyo have a very similar tongue construction, as well as the Rebel V4. It's like this feltish, it's not felt, sort of like a thicker padded fabric without padding in the middle of it. It's just like a thick fabric, which I think works really well in its application here. I don't have any complaints about it. It's also not gusseted, which again, I'm of the, I don't know, I don't really care, but if I had a choice, I would actually choose no gusset just to save weight. That's my stance. I know that there's a bit of a faction going on in the running community about gussets, and I'm on team no gusset for sure, but not strongly. I'm not passionate about team no gusset, but the people that I've seen that like gussets really like them. So this doesn't have it, just so you know. The laces, I think they're not bad. I think they could be improved upon, and I do think that throughout the run, especially on my right foot, I could feel the single knot coming slightly looser over time, not coming undone, obviously, but I don't know if you guys have the same situation as I do, but sometimes I feel like with certain laces, they can loosen slightly as you run, and this, I do think that happened too. Now, I didn't double knot it. I could have double knotted it, and I didn't. That's just a typical thing for me because I have such a hard time untying my shoes if I double knot them that I choose not to. Good Lord. Moving down then, that's the upper, the padding at the Achilles is perfectly fine. No need to have more, no need to have less. And down to the midsole. So this is Mizuno's Energy XP. I don't know if that's experience points or really don't think it could be anything else. Maybe you get bonus points for running in this shoe and it levels up your running for you. Gives you Mizuno credits. That'd be cool if you had an app for Mizuno where the more miles you run in their shoes, they give you points to buy shoes. Mizuno, take note. But it only works for Energy XP shoes. Oh my God, we're derailed entirely. So the Energy XP, I couldn't find whether or not it was, I have some notes on the screen over here, and I couldn't find whether or not it was PIBA or a TPE. Those were the two that were floated for this foam. I believe it's a PIBA because of, let's see if it's really harsh white right now, but maybe if we go around so you can maybe see down here that there are some break-in lines already, classic PIBA wrinkle lines. So I'm 99% sure it's PIBA. It is not the firmest nor the softest PIBA that I've run in. I think that, it's right in the middle of the road, maybe on the slightly softer side. So comparing it to things that I know very well, the Cielo X1, it's hard to say because that's softer than this now. I don't know if when it was new, maybe that was a little bit harder than this is, and it's just really worn down foam. But as of right now, my current pair of Cielo X1, that's a little bit softer than the Mizuno Low. We got to start shortening these shoes names, like Wave Rebellion Pro 3 Low. No. Just the Low Boy, Mizuno Low Boy. There's nothing low about it because it's still a full stack, and in fact, it's overstacked. Like I measured it earlier on the calipers, and kind of no matter what way you cut it, it's way over 40. But they're measuring from back here, and that's not over 40. So good on you, But where you're actually putting your foot and where you're actually landing on this shoe, if you're landing midfoot or forefoot, this part of it is way more stacked. It's not the wild 60 millimeter stack height of the Wave Rebellion Pro 3 normal. But yeah, it's a 4 millimeter drop, and I do buy it, right? Sometimes I feel like some of these drop measurements are completely random, or the companies are measuring from a completely different location than where my feet are. And for example, recently, the more that I've been running in the Hoka Mach X3, the more it feels like a higher drop shoe than what they're claiming. But this feels really pretty much like a 4 millimeter, or just generally in the category of lower drop shoes, because my calves were twitching at the end of my second run today. I was also flying too. That could be part of it. So I was probably up on my calves more, but up on my toes more, causing my calves to be worked harder. But I do think that regardless of how fast I was running, this would have presented more of a workout for my calves. And I really like the ride on this. It's extremely bouncy, one of the bounciest shoes I've ever run in. Maybe it's because of the way that I'm landing on it. Maybe it's my mechanics work really well with this shoe, but it was just bouncing me along like nobody's business. Couple things that I did notice throughout the run today. The first was that I did have a hot spot and or plate feel on my right foot. Playing with the laces a lot really did alleviate that for the most part, but it was something that I did sort of on and off struggle with throughout both runs. It is, I believe, to do with the tightness on my foot. Like if it's tight, then it creates that hot spot. And I can't really tell you why. It's something that I would love to have answers to, because it's a recurring theme for me with shoes in general. So we'll get, I'm going to keep learning about my body and my biomechanics. We often think of a reviewer as a static, like metric or measuring stick of a shoe. And if you get along with that person's mechanics, then you're going to get along with the shoes that they like. And while that is a good rule of thumb, like generally, if you find somebody that's reviewing shoes that you agree with, you're going to hit more than miss with your alignment to their preferences. But we're not humans, especially newer runners like myself, and I've been doing this for about 2 years now. We're going to evolve and change the way that we run over time and make subtle adjustments to our stride. And even potentially on a day-to-day basis, you might be running a little bit differently one day versus the next because you're tired or you're fatigued in an area that you don't normally work. Maybe you hit like more downhill than you normally do, so your quads are tired and you're running a little different the next day. I don't know. But that all goes to say that I'm still discovering what works for me in shoes and what doesn't. This was solvable, and I solved it throughout the course of the 2 runs today. But I did get some hot spots in my forefoot. I know there's a really roundabout way to explain that, but it bears knowing for the listener, the viewer out there. What else? So yeah, the plate in this is not a carbon fiber plate. It is a carbon infused nylon plate. You can see it down here. I don't really know what that means. It's not, maybe it's heavier than a carbon plate. Maybe it's lighter than a carbon fiber plate. I don't really know like what a carbon infused nylon means. Like, what are they doing? Are they taking like carbon molecules and just putting it into the nylon? And what does that do to the nylon? Does it make it more rigid? This is what I think is happening, is that It's like a blend of plastic and hardened carbon molecules that makes the plastic itself more rigid. I don't know what that does to affect the lightness properties, but this is a very, very rigid shoe. Like, it's less flexible than the Metaspeed Edge Paris or Tokyo. Probably even than the Adios Pro 3. This is one of the more rigid shoes that I felt like I'm, squeezing pretty hard. Doesn't bend. And that's a surprise to me, because when I think plastic plate, generally I think a little bit more flexible. So I don't know, and I don't know if I really noticed it all that much on the run being different than a carbon fiber plate. I didn't fully process that it wasn't a full carbon fiber plate until before my second run. Like, I knew that going into it, but it didn't really occur to me that it could have been any different underfoot. So basically this functions as a carbon fiber plate more than other plastic plated shoes that I've had function as carbon fiber plates. Whatever, doesn't really matter. It's about the feel. It's not about the raw material used necessarily. Outsole. So outsole is really colorful and I like it a lot. It's purple and orange, or like pinkish or orangish. I really like that outsole design. I don't think it's the grippiest outsole out there. And this is a thing that I think combines also with the relative instability of this shoe to create a certain lack of confidence for pulling this for a race day. But I just had two of the best runs that I've had, besides being in the Metaspeed Edge Paris and Tokyo recently. So this is hanging right up there with the big boys. And yes, this is heavier than the Edge either generation. This is 217 grams, and the Edge Paris was like 199, and then the Edge Tokyo is like, I don't remember, it's like 180 or something. Crazy. It's crazy light. Those are insanely light shoes. This on foot doesn't really feel any different than those. It really doesn't, not by weight, right? It feels a little more squirrely and a little less stable than either of those shoes, but weight is not where this feels different. I think that you would have a really hard time putting this on your foot and differentiating between a 215 gram shoe and a 180 gram shoe, generally speaking. And, I'm going to put this to head-to-heads with a ton of different shoes that I own, because I think this is extremely competitive and would probably smash most of the shoes that I want to compare against it. But the one that's coming to mind the most, the Hoka Rocket X3, I think I recall that feeling heavier on foot than this felt. Now, that is so memory-based that it's almost not worth saying, but this is from my memory. This feels lighter than that, and they're almost the same weight. They're like, the Rocket is 5 or 6 grams, maybe 10 grams lighter, right? So whatever, weight-wise, I sort of touched on all this earlier in the day, but this is, I consider it competitive on weight. Some of the stability concerns, I think that, turning is a little more effortful in this than the Metaspeed shoes. It feels perhaps a little taller and definitely side to side squidgy. Not torsionally necessarily, not torsionally rotationally, but side to side, sort of like cliff to cliff. Feels like you just really need to know where you're putting your feet. But once you get going in a straight line, this does the same motorcycle or bicycle thing that the Evo SL does, except with a different forefoot motion. So I've done this so many times on this channel, but I described the Evo SL as doing this. It claws you back, because of the really smooth rocker to the Evo SL, it's going right, and clawing you back into the earth as it rocks you forward, right, like that. This doesn't exactly have the same motion feeling, but it has the same, once you're going in a straight line and you're up on your 2 feet, jumping one jump after the next in the activity that creates running, right, you're running forward. Once you're at speed in this, you're a very stable vehicle. You're like a motorcycle going 60, but getting up to 60, there's like, which makes turning, that's the challenge. Similar story in the Evo SL. That's why the comparison. This doesn't feel so clawing forward. It almost feels like boing, 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 boing. I don't know. It's a crazy bouncy shoe. It might be the bounciest shoe that I currently own. Which, yeah, I mean, the Edge Tokyo was also really bouncy. I think this is even bouncier. And what is bounciness? I don't even know. It's hard to say. It's a very subjective term. But it's the sensation to me, bounciness is the sensation of landing and being shot upwards or forwards, like being propelled through the air in a noticeable, meaningful way, right? That's the level of bounce. So like a really unbouncy shoe would be like a Birkenstock. You don't bounce at all in that because you're landing on cork, right? And on the other end of the spectrum, you have trampolines, which are made to bounce on, right? And this is, as far as shoes go, way more trampoliny or landing on a really stretched rubber band, like two tough, brawny power lifters are holding one of those exercise bands and pulling it really far apart, and each footfall is like they're doing their best to hold the band apart, and you're running on that band over and over again each footfall. That's the type of rebound that you get from the low boys. So that's my summary of this. I've definitely ranted on long enough for you to have something to go on with. I had a phenomenal time in these today. I think that it has a strong potential to be my race day shoe. I just need to sort out some of the stability concerns that I have in it, and maybe also some of the grip concerns. I was going from wet to dry to wet surfaces in this throughout the course of the run today. And that, for me at least, is one of the worst. Like, it's the best way to test grip because, like, it's the most likely to slip. So, yeah, more testing to come. I'm probably going to do my long run in this weekend just because, like, I really want to run in this again, but I don't want to run in it too much in case I do want to run in it for my race. Or even, like, easily could pull this for a half if I wasn't going to go with a streak fly. That's still an option. But yeah, I would trust this for a half and a full. I wouldn't go 10K, 5K in it because I have better options for that. And also it's a little squirrely. But if it was like a flat, straight course, then yeah, maybe for sure. This is really bouncy. Okay. All right. Thank you for your attention. See ya.